Hello, hello, Professor
Yes.
Selva Palam. Hello, Professor Selva Palam, sir. Hello, hello, Dr. Selva Palam, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, kindly unmute yourself. Madam, unmute करता है ना? Hello, hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I have some network issue. Just a
Okay. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
sir. Professor,
Hello.
hello. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We start, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Rashmi, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can start.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. At first, I request all the participants to mute your microphone, please.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. I, Rashmi
Sorry,
Dubey,
good afternoon. Sorry.
welcome you all. No problem, sir. I, Rashmi Dubey, welcome you all on 5th day of National Level 1 Week Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology, organized by Kamla Nehru Mahavidyalaya and Internal Quality Assurance Cell. Firstly, I pay my homage to late Shri Govindraoji Vanzari sir, founder president of Amar Seva Mandal. I also pay my gratitude to Honorable Dr. Suhasini Vanzari ma'am, President Amar Seva Mandal, Honorable Advocate Abhijit Vanzari sir, MLC and Secretary Amar Seva Mandal, and Honorable Dr. Smita Vanjari ma'am, Treasurer Amar Seva Mandal, Nagpur, for their constant support and guidance to us. I welcome all the participants who have joined the session from various states. Welcome all of you. I heartily welcome our today's guest and speaker, Dr. N. Sevapalam sir. But before starting the session, it is my privilege to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. N. Sevapalam. Sir is currently working as Associate Professor in Center of Supramolecular Chemistry, Internal Research Center and Department of Chemistry, Kalasilangam University, Tamil Nadu. He did MSc from Mysore University and PhD from IIT New Delhi. His area of research interest are organic synthesis, supramolecular chemistry, sulfide fluorescence sensor, and graphene oxide based sensors. He has published more than 55 research papers in journals and 23 patents are in his credit. He has completed DST SERB research project and visited South Korea for postdoc research. So I would request the most rhetorician and dynamic personality of today's session, Dr. N. Sevapalam, to start the session. Now it is over to you, sir. Dr. Sevapalam, sir, it's over to you. I think there is some network issue. Hello.
Just a minute. Wait.
Yes, yes. So I think there is some network issue. We will wait and
Sorry,
yes.
Charlie. Okay, just within a minute.
Yes, yes. And today we have a great session on research, hypothesis, and thesis writing. So we will just wait for 1-2 minutes.
Yes. Sir,
Yes,
can
sir.
you, yes, sir, can you hear
Yes,
me, sir?
yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Share the screen. Yes, sir. Share the screen.
So host is disabled. I'm getting a host is disabled to.
अरुणा मॅडम त्यांको एखादं डिजेबल किया आहे त्यांचा अलाउ करा त्यांना स्क्रीन शेअर साठी
अभी आ गया ना सर?
येस येस ओके
Okay, sir.
नाही
Is it visible now?
येस येस सर
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you very much, madam, for the nice introduction. Basically, I'm an organic chemist, and I spent more than 10 years in South Korea. Then I moved back to India and working in the Khalsa University. So basically, Professor Swaminathan was asked me to give a lecture on the research methodology. I accepted that invitation. Then I prepared myself for this one. It was quite new topic for me, even though I think most of, as a professor, I'm really scared to give such a well-known topic, such a well-known topic to the professors and to the audience. But still, I tried my best to prepare the slides, and I hope you will enjoy my presentation. Is it audible, sir?
सर
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, you are audible.
Yes.
Yes, sir. you are audible.
Thank you. Okay, so today my topic is going to be on the hypothesis. My topic is going to be on the hypothesis, research hypothesis, and the thesis writing. So this topic is basically both are relevant to each other. If you look at the research hypothesis and the thesis writing, which is somewhat, it's the end of your PhD point. So this is one of the very, very important point to be considered when you write the thesis. And very often this research hypothesis is the starting point. So if you are a research scholar, you should understand what is the meaning of research hypothesis. And then at the end of your career, you have to write the thesis writing. So this is the complete, it will cover the complete picture of what you are supposed to do during your career as a research scholar. So research scholar, when you start your career as a research scholar, or when you start your education as a research scholar, very often we feel, a kind of a blind mode, okay, because you do not know what's going on, and you do not know where to start and how to start, and how to write the paper and how to publish the paper. And unless you publish the paper, you will not get recognition. And finally, you have to write the very good thesis to get appreciation from someone who is in a position of professor or in the higher position. So you have to satisfy from the bottom level to the higher level. And for everything, you need to know about the research hypothesis and the thesis writing. So I thank once again this Kamala Nehru Mahavidyalaya Nagpur for arranging the national level 1 week faculty development program and the research methodology. Until now, I was really enjoying this FDP program, and thank you very much once again, the organizers. So let us now go into the subject. So we have to understand what is the meaning of hypothesis. So if you start from this is the scratch. If you start as I told you, if you start as a research scholar, the first thing is that you have to think about how can I put the hypothesis? Because as I told you, you are like you don't know anything about the ABCD of the research, and you have to start with something. So you may read a lot of papers and you are really confused what to do after this one. So for every research purpose, you have to understand one important keyword, that is the one hypothesis. So as a definition in scientific research, a hypothesis is a specific testable statement proposing a potential explanation or a prediction for a particular phenomenon. That means you can propose a new idea, or you can predict a new idea, or you can examine the new idea in such a way that you can discover something new by your own. So that means you can understand that how important the hypothesis is that. Okay. So then you do not know, okay, fine, I know what is hypothesis, then what I should do or what I should start with that one. Okay. So for that, you have to again go back to the research article. Okay. So when you read some 2 or 3 research article, you will understand the connection. Okay. This is a sensor, this one, and there is something else, they synthesize something. Then, okay, let us try to see whether this sensor works for this particular analyte. So that you are thinking now, right? You started thinking, okay, I got this, receptor, and I got the analyte now, and I have to see whether this particular sensor or this particular receptor will work for a particular analyte or not. So you are now examining, you are trying to propose something. Okay, you are proposing and you are trying to predict something, and you are predicting a phenomena. That is what the exactly hypothesis. So whatever is falling into your mind, whatever you are falling into your brain, like, shall I try or can we try? Is it possible? So for all this question, the final answer is hypothesis. So you have to now find a hypothesis for your research. Okay. Okay. So now in this hypothesis case, as you can see this one, there are 3 different things you can watch out here. So one is that what it will do that. So hypothesis basically, it helps in identifying the areas that should be focused on for solving the research problem. So very important. So whatever you are making a hypothesis, that helping to solve the research problem. As a research scholar or as a faculty or as a professor, we all every day we think about some new problem. See, when you see the plastic outside, the many people are just burning the plastic. Then you may think, or you may put your own idea. Okay, why not I recycle this plastic and make a new compound, or make a new fuel, or make a something, recyclable material. So all these ideas, so these ideas are basically emerging from the word called hypothesis. Okay, so that means hypothesis helps in identifying the areas that should be focused on for solving the research problem. And second, hypothesis helps to frame the concept of study in a meaningful and effective manner, because whatever you are putting the ideas or whatever you are making the concept, that will be a kind of, it should be meaningful and it should be effective manner for your research. Okay. And finally, the hypothesis also helps the researcher to arrive at a conclusion for the study based on the organized empirical data examination. For example, when you're working on the sensor, that sensor, you have to collect a lot of data. Then you have to see whether your idea or whatever you are proposing concept, that proposed concept is basically hypothesis. So your proposed concept, is it really functioning or not? You understand? So the hypothesis helps the researcher to arrive at a conclusion for the study based on organized empirical data examination. So you have to collect the data. Then you have to analyze the data. Then only you can come to the conclusion whether your hypothesis is working or not. So hypotheses basically play in all the roles: creating the idea, and then collecting the data, and finally come to the conclusion. Everywhere, this concept of hypothesis will play a major role. Okay, now we are going to see what are the different types of hypothesis and how we can correlate this hypothesis. Okay, so you can see here in this slide now that there are 6 different types of hypothesis. Maybe I can say even 7 different types of hypothesis. One is a simple hypothesis. Next one is the complex hypothesis. And third one is the directional hypothesis. And fourth one is the non-directional hypothesis. And fifth one is the null hypothesis. And the sixth one is associative and casual hypothesis. See, in hypothesis itself, there are many categories are there. Maybe as a research scholar, You may think that, okay, simple hypothesis, okay, so just like idea, and it's a new developing for the new concept, but it has many different categories which you are applying every day in your life, but without knowing what is the connection with each other. Okay, now today we are going to learn that what is the simple hypothesis, what are these types of hypotheses. Okay, and the last one is a associative hypothesis and a causal hypothesis. We will see in details of this one. Okay, so now let us see the first category. That is a simple hypothesis. Simple hypothesis basically relevantly, you can see that one as a definition as the first part. Simple hypothesis is based on simple relationship between two variables. So here the variables can be receptor and the sensor, or the variable can be a compound 1 and compound 2. Okay, so that relating each other. So we are going to relate two different variables. So that one is called the independent variable and the other one is a dependent variable, and whether they have the effect on the independent one affecting the dependent one. So for example, smoking leads to cancer. This everybody knows that smoking leads to cancer, but this was proved long ago by someone. So that particular guy must have created this hypothesis and finally come to the conclusion that smoking leads to cancer. So this is it for you. It may looks new, but here the point is that there are two variables. One variable is smoking, another variable is cancer. So the hypothesis saying that smoking basically makes a cancer or not, yes or no. So this is a logical gate that yes or no. So when you find it yes, that means your hypothesis, you come to the conclusion. So by simple hypothesis. So here the smoking is one variable, cancer is another variable, and finally you are come to the conclusion based on your experimentation and saying that smoking leads to cancer. Okay, so this is the kind of example for the simple hypothesis. And let us go for the next one, complex hypothesis. So in the case of a complex hypothesis, so that the first one we can see the definition. Complex hypothesis shows the relation between two or more dependent variables and two or more independent variables. So it can be a connection of more than two. There it's we saw only one. There was a cancer and smoking. But here we are going to see how more number of variables are connected to each other. So that is the one called complex hypothesis. So here, for example, eating more vegetables and fruits leads to weight loss, glowing skin, and reduces the risk of many diseases such as heart diseases. That means here the collection of variable A, which is called eating all the vegetables and fruits. So vegetables and fruits are variables A and B. We are trying to connect with the variable of C, which is weight loss and glowing skin and reduce the risk of many diseases such as heart disease. So we are connecting the heart disease, glowing skin, weight loss. These are variables C, D, F, and we are checking that connection of A, B as a vegetable and fruits. Okay, so that way we can see whether the concept or whether the hypothesis is correct or not. We can do as a by experimentation. Even now, you can check the similar hypothesis, and finally you can come for the conclusion of the hypothesis. Okay, so this is the more variables. That's why they called as a complex hypothesis. Okay, and the third one, it's a directional hypothesis. In the case of a directional hypothesis, it is when someone makes a specific prediction about an effect or relationship between two variables. So this give a particular direction of activity. For example, as you can see here, caffeine is linked to an increased inactivity. So whenever you take coffee, your adrenal is functioning and your brain functioning increases such a way that you are getting more activity. So here our activity and the caffeine are the variables, and here this is towards a particular direction, increase or decrease. So that is how it is a directional now. If it's a north or south, so something like that. Here this is the increase or decrease. So here as the final conclusion is that it gives a specific effect. It means finally we can come to know that whenever we take a coffee, I can increase the activity. So it is a particular direction, means increasing direction, or in the upward direction. In the one is downward direction. Maybe the similar way you must have like seen in many of similar examples. So this is a directional hypothesis. And fourth one is a non-directional hypothesis. So here a non-directional hypothesis does not specify the type of change or relationship that is expected to occur. Okay, for example, like a caffeine causes no change in activity. Okay, caffeine causes a change in activity level, but here they are not mentioned which direction it is showing. Higher change, which kind of changes they did not mention. The hypothesis statement saying that caffeine causes a change in the activity level. That's all. So here the direction is not given. Increase or decrease, they are not given, but simply they are saying that it causes a change in the activity level. So here it is called a non-directional hypothesis. Okay, because here without specifying whether the change will be an increase or a decrease. Okay, so this is a good example for the non-directional hypothesis. The next one is a null hypothesis. In most of the cases, we come across this particular null hypothesis because this will predict no relationship between the two variables. Whenever there is a no relationship, so such kind of cases, it be called a null hypothesis. There's no relationship, but still both variables exist. For example, in this case, as you can see here, there is no variation in the salary of the factory workers based on the gender. So like when you go to the factory and the salary package is always is a common one, whether for male different packages, female different packages not there. So in such case, in such category, the salary and the workers, these are the two variables, and here both are not connected by the wage of by the making the salary. Okay, so that means the gender is not connected, but basically when you bring the gender case, then only you can get to the directional, non-directional, or other kind of a hypothesis will come across. But here both are independent here, so that is what we call as a null hypothesis. Here the salary package and the gender are a two different category, which is not connected unless there is a variation. Okay, another example, you can see that there is no relationship between the height and the shoe size. Somebody may be very tall, but shoe size may be something different. Okay, and similar like that, here both variables, height and the shoe size, have no connectivity to each other. So that kind of the case, it's called a null hypothesis. Okay, and the next one is associative hypothesis and the causal hypothesis. So associative hypothesis basically refers as a change in one variable result in the change in the other variable. So that means they have associated to each other. If it is changes in the variable A, and there will be surely changes in the variable B. For example, you can see this category comes across many a time. For example, whenever you increase the concentration, naturally the intensity will increase. You understand? So that is the one which you come across in chemistry, but similar example is like this one. Increase in physical activity will increase the overall health. So that means here also positive direction, here also positive direction. They are in the same directional. So that is why they are associated to each other. So that is why they called as a associative hypothesis. And the last one is the causal hypothesis. In this case, a causal hypothesis proposes a cause and effect interaction between the variables. As you can see, some example you will understand that the long-term alcohol use causes the liver damage. That means this causing alcohol is damaging. So that is why it's a kind of a, there is a effect. Effect is occurring because of the variable 1. So when variable A is affecting the variable B, then this is called a causal hypothesis. So long-term alcohol use causes the liver damage. So these are the different categories of hypothesis. Without knowing or knowing or unknowingly, you may be using all this hypothesis, but basically you have to understand these are the different categories of hypotheses are existing in the research methodology. Okay, so you have to I don't know whether you are you may not exactly apply this idea, but maybe this is true that it is existing, all this kind of hypothesis existing in your research, and probably you can try to see your data at later stage and see how this hypothesis helps you a lot. But one important point is that without hypothesis, research will not exist, because we are always propose something. We always propose, okay, whenever the Thomas Alva Edison, you can look at him that he tried to make a bulb. But whenever he, the first time he put only carbon filament, and next time he put a tungsten filament. Okay, and first time he used the atmospheric pressure. Second time he used the some vacuum. So in vacuum, that carbon was not burning out. But in the outside, in the atmosphere, there are a lot of oxygen is there. So naturally carbon will burn out. So the bulb will not, glow for a longer duration. So that is just a concept, like he is connecting the variable here. What he was connecting is that carbon is one variable, electricity is another variable. Okay, so like that he is trying to find out the connection to each other, two different variables. How much potential is needed, how much current is needed, how much kind of temperature is needed, how much pressure is required. So all these are different variables: pressure, temperature, volume, all these variables he applies on a material A, carbon, tungsten, and all other filaments. So like that, you can also try to vary the variables. I'm sure the success will arise in your research. Okay, so naturally, without hypothesis, the research cannot exist at all. Okay, now let us come to the category of the thesis. Okay, so before that one, I just want to give a simple one, how to write the hypothesis. So basically the first point is it predicts the relationship and the outcome, and simple, concise, avoid, weirdness, simply, hello. Clear with no ambiguity or assumptions about the reader's knowledge, and observable. Try to always give us some hypothesis which is observable and testable results, and relevant and specific to the research or problem. Okay, you cannot put the hypothesis which is not relevant to your research. So try to put the hypothesis which is related to your research, and surely after testing you'll get some good results, and based on that one you can communicate to the scientific community. So next is like we are going to see about after we got the results. Now we publish the paper. At the end of your research career, you have to write the thesis. Now we are going to see what are the different hurdles existing in the writing the thesis, and why we should write the thesis, and what are the parameters we have to include in the thesis we are going to see. Of course, as I already mentioned to you, as a professor, we all know that how to write the thesis, but as a research scholar, you have to, you have to understand the need for each and every categories. Okay. So thesis, basically, you may wonder, as I mentioned here, what is thesis? Thesis is also called a dissertation. So the definition says that the dictionary defines a thesis to be a proposition that is maintained by the argument. Okay, so that's maybe for English. It is for English thesis, it may be fit for that one. And next one is that it's a dissertation to be a lengthy formal treatise, especially one written by a candidate for a doctoral degree at the university. Surely it applies for us. We have to write at least 200 pages of a thesis, which include all your innovations. Okay, and the third point is that thesis is a contention or principles of which you would like to convince your reader, because whosoever read the thesis, they should be able to convince, okay, you have done something innovation, you have done something good to the community, to the our community, you have done something great. So to that one, you have to convince, you have to write such a way that you have to convince to the reader that you have done something great. And the last one, as you can see, that dissertation is written here, written presentation of it. Okay, like whatever you are writing, the dissertation should be in the proper presentation. Otherwise, in a written presentation. Otherwise, people cannot, enjoyable. Basically, every thesis is like from my point of view, every thesis is like writing a screenplay. If you write a screenplay for a particular movie, you know how difficult it is. For a simple 3 hours movie, it was so difficult to write the screenplay. So similar like that, you are also writing the screenplay in the scientific manner. So you have to imagine always writing a thesis is like writing a story for the movie. So you have to start from the scratch. You have to introduce your characters. You have to make a lot of variation. You have to make so many phenomena. And finally, you have to come to conclusion, okay, hero is the great and the family is saved. And you have to show something at the end as a conclusion point of view. Maybe in most of the movie, hero wins and then everybody is happy end. Okay, here also the same way your discovery will be useful to the society. So that is how you have to write the thesis. Imagine that whenever you write a thesis, imagine always you are writing a movie screenplay. Okay, such a way that I'm sure you can write a very good thesis and it should be enjoyable, readable. When the reader read the thesis, they should get motivation. Okay, what is next? Okay, what is next? That's what the movie, a successful movie always, makes us to sit on the front bench and the neck of the chair. Okay, because we want to see what is the next, Same like that, you have to, whenever you write the thesis, every point, whatever you are writing next page, the next page should be enjoyable and the next should be informative and the next page should be not unpredictable. So you should give always unpredictable results. That is what exactly the research thesis. I hope you all understand the importance of writing the thesis and how it's supposed to looks like. Okay. Okay, now let us go into deep into the step by step and see that one. So basically this thesis structure is a very common one. Maybe this thesis structure is given by the university. Every university, they give a format. So the exact format is I just listed out here. It should contain the introduction part. It should contain the literature review. It should contain the different sections like chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, like that. And there should be analysis and there should be a conclusion and future work. Finally, the reference list and the appendices. If there is appendices, you can include. Otherwise, you can write your CV and other information data. Okay, so it's a very common one, and this is not a new to you. And thesis structure, every of your senior, if you look at your senior's thesis, you can follow the same thesis structure. So you don't need to learn something new in this category. Okay, and next slide, we'll see that one. What is that? So the next one is basically, this is one of the important area, the thesis preface. Most of the time, this thesis preface, it plays a very major role because this is something like, in the movie title, okay, where who and all worked on this one and how you have done this one. So all these are, this is something like very, bookmarking. So, okay, this bookmarking means something like, okay, when I look at the pages, I can go to a particular pages directly by looking at your, index. So the preface, working on the preface is the last part, but without this part, you will be nowhere. It is something like, you cannot figure out what is what. Okay, so you have to work really well to organize the thesis along with a very good preface. Okay, so preface should contain the title page and it should contain the, abstract, and should contain the acknowledgement and table of contents and list of figures and list of tables and a list of symbols, abbreviations, and list of appendices. Okay, so all these are in the prefaces. Some of them maybe goes up and down depending on the, depending on the, situation. Some thesis it will be in the last, some thesis it will be on the first case. For example, in the case of list of figures, can be on the, list of figures, list of tables, can be of, front pages, of course, and some of the appendices, list of appendices will be sometimes, in a different pages. The order is not necessarily to be the same, but the order can be shuffled within this one. But this should present before you go to write for the introduction part. You understand? So that is why preface plays a major role in the thesis, because this is the guideline. So this is the, without this guideline, we cannot go deeper into the thesis. Okay. So the next part, what we are going to see is that one, the thesis writing plan. Okay, how to write the thesis? We should have some plan for that one. So for that one is, we call it as a It's like a roadmap for the thesis. So you have to begin rather than later. That means whenever you do the research, you have to have the proper data within there itself, because you cannot, at last moment you cannot run around and see this data where, this data where. No. When you start your career, start writing your data systematically in a notebook. So have a very good notebook, and every day you have to record what you are doing in the laboratory. Okay, that is how whenever you need to check that point, you can immediately go and check the particular notebook and find out the data. Okay, so you have to begin earlier rather than later. And the second important point is the literature review. That is supposed to be the part of the introduction part, and report in full form with the additional figures and animation. Sometimes these additional figures, why I'm telling you that most of the time you publish some paper, but you may have some additional pictures. You may have some additional animated pictures. So those additional pictures you can freely include in the thesis. Okay, so that way the readers will get more information. Because when you write the paper, there's a limited page restrictions are there, but here in the thesis there's no page restriction. Of course, in some university they have page restriction, but most of the time there is no page restriction. So you can include all the relevant information in the thesis. Okay, so it is a full form. It's a full form of whatever you have done, work on the particular area. And next one is like a research paper. So you can mostly extract with a more expansion. Basically, research papers are the guideline for writing the thesis. So, but you can extract with a more expansion. And key to the success, continuous effort to the start to the end. That means how you can be successful is that continuous effort is very much needed, starting from the end. Because writing the thesis is really a boring one, and it is sometimes frustrating. And so you have to be a continuous effort you are supposed to give a very good thesis, because your thesis is a permanent endpoint. Because after once you publish the thesis, that is going to be like a dictionary, and this is going to be never changeable material, and that will come along for your entire career. Okay, so your thesis is one of the very, very important material which will carry for the entire career. So give more importance when you write the thesis. Okay. And some of the basic parameters are here. I just want to see that, like when you write the thesis, set the clear goals and milestones, because when you work out, it may take sometimes 6 months, sometimes it take 1 year to write the thesis. So you have to set the goal and milestone. Okay, this month I complete this one. This month I complete this one. Keep a milestone and make a goals and achieve the goals very quickly. And begin by breaking down your thesis into the smaller manageable task. Most of the time you think, okay, let me write this one, that one. No, not like that. Every pages you consider as a smaller task, and divide your task in such a way that you can able to complete it within the deadline. And set the deadlines for each chapter and section to keep yourself on a track. That's what, as I mentioned to you, when you started writing the thesis, it takes plenty of time. You will be run out of time. So you have to have the deadline for each and every chapter, such a way that you can finish it on time, and create a detailed schedule for that one. It is similar like preparing for the competitive examination. Prepare a detailed schedule for making the completion of the thesis, and develop a weekly and a daily schedule, and revise multiple times. You have to revise unless and otherwise you get fully satisfied. Then you can give the particular content to your professor. He will restructure it if needed, and that's what restructure it whenever is needed, and update the literature until you submit. So your literature review presented in the thesis to be updated one. So that's why I'm telling you, like, you can keep update the literature until you submit the thesis. Okay. And now we are going to see different sections, like as I mentioned to you, title page, what are things should be there. Like each and every section, we are going to quickly scan through that one and get some idea. Okay. So title page. So the title page is basically, the title must be very precise and specific, and avoid the vague and very long title, because some people I saw that it was more than 5 lines. No, It should be like maximum 2 lines or 3 lines, which is the maximum, it will be pleasing. If you give more than 3 or 4 lines, people, get bored even reading that title itself. So the title should be precise, specific, and avoid the, vague and a very long title. And do not use abbreviation, acronyms in the title. Sometimes maybe the acronym is very common, like, but it's better to avoid the abbreviations in the title itself. And it's best to use the keyword that relate to your topic inside the thesis. Okay, so the title should be a kind of a connection of keywords which you already published in the paper. Okay, so those are the connectivity, and within the, your title, whatever the title you are writing, so that title should give us some impression about what the thesis is about. Okay, for example, sensor means the word sensor should come in the title. Okay, for example, you worked on the DNA, the DNA should be in the title. Okay, so make sure that all your keywords are within your title. And the last one is researchers can find and search your work easily for the reference, so that, from that one they can easily find out. Other researchers can find and search your work easily for the reference, because nowadays the thesis is online. So when they put the kind of keyword, they should be able to use your work as a reference point, such a way that other people can utilize your thesis in a very good manner. Okay, so that is how the title is supposed to be there. The next one is abstract. Okay, the abstract is a very, very important one. It is similar like the writing the abstract for the, writing the abstract for the paper. So same like that here also, the abstract play a major role. So here the abstract supposed to give the information about what you did and why you did. Okay, so what did you do and why did you do it, and what questions were you are trying to answer, and how did you do it, and state the methods, and what did you learn, and state the major results, and why does it matter, point out at least one significant implication, and previous work and its improvement, future scope of the work, and the real-time application of the work. So all this can be included inside the abstract. Okay, so that means when they read the abstract, they should be able to clearly understand what matter. I mean, what is the significant implication of your work to the society? For example, during the corona time, we all discovered the vaccine. So that vaccine is a kind of a implication, social implication. So that improve our day-to-day life. Okay. So that is how you are supposed to be. Whatever you are doing the research, there should be at least some implication to the society. Somebody can easily appreciate what you have done. Okay. So that, actually, you may know that after the pre-synopsis, they will send the abstract to the reviewer. So by reading the abstract, they can able to say whether yes or no to evaluate. So that means this abstract is having a very, very important area to cover in the thesis. So give more importance to the abstract. And if you cannot write very well in the abstract, you can give some seniors or somebody who can write a good abstract to your thesis, because the abstract, most of the time, the reviewer will read your abstract only, and afterwards only he will read about the specific area which he is having the doubt or interest. Okay, so in that way, if you write a good abstract, you will get surely a very good comments from the reviewer. So in that way, this carries a very, very important parameter. Okay, so okay, next thing is what we are going to see about that, the table of content. The table of content, as I mentioned to you, this is the guide map. The table of content is the basic guide map for the entire thesis. So what is there where? So what are the things are available existing in the thesis, and which point I should go and locate it. So that's how the table of content is supposed to be there. So you should list all the front matter, main content, and back matter, including the headings, page numbers of all chapters, and bibliography, etc. Okay, so that means a good table of contents allows the readers to quickly navigate your specific parts of the text, enhancing the accessibility and usability of the work. So that is why the abstract and TOC will give a good impression about your work. Okay, so that way you can go through you can give some, importance to the TOC and make sure that, it should be very impressive one. Okay, so I think this table of contents is one of the very important parameter which you cannot exclude. So naturally, you have to work hard to get the TOC, and that is a important area. So you cannot exclude. So naturally, whether you like it or not, you will do a very good TOC. No worry about that one. But surely, when you give the title of the particular chapter or unit or even table and figure, you give very appreciable title, and appreciable means it should match exactly what the figure has. So such a way that you have to summarize in that way. If you give proper title, then it will kindly more pleasing, more readable one. It will be the TOC. Okay. So next is the list of figures. So it will also follow by the list of the first list of the content, then the list of the figures you can add up. So list page numbers of all figures. So all the the page as the figure should be listed out in a proper way, and that is a quick reference for the all figures. And the list should include a short title for each figure. As I mentioned your title will implies what is there inside. Okay, I should not go through the figure and all those things. Just looking at the title itself, I can understand. Okay, this is about that one. Then if I scared, I can go on see and find out what it is. Okay, and next is like precise and chapter wise order. So as this you have to do, because the university give always the format, so you have to follow the chapter wise order in a proper way. And finally, the list of figures will give us a good impression about the thesis. As I mentioned that is the final ultimate one which we can get from this one. Okay, so next is the list of table. It's a very same, whatever this applicable, the same thing can be applicable for the tables also. So list of you have to put the numbers, proper numbers for the each table. Like one, if the unit 1, then chapter 1 means 1.1. If chapter 2 means 2.1, 2.2, table number like that. So you have to name it according to the chapter. You cannot simply name it like 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Not like that. Each chapter you have to put the first one, and second one is the abbreviate. The second point you can put according to that one. So put the table numbers proper way and list out all the tables in the right manner. So the list should include a short title for each table, but not whole caption. Like you put you don't need to put whatever the caption was there in the table. You don't need to all the complete name. You can give a short title. It's allowed. Okay, so you can short title and then make a proper list of tables and arrange it chapter-wise as usual, and arrange it with the precise manner. Okay, and thesis writing introduction part is one of the important one. So when you write the thesis, introduction is the most of the time introduction will be like from your senior. You can just follow, because if it is you are from the same laboratory, you can follow the whatever with the introduction part given by the senior, and see that you can also imply little with a little bit modification. You can include most of the work of your seniors, but it should contain the statement of the goal in the thesis, and why the study was undertaken, and why the thesis was written, and do not repeat the abstract statement. Here, most of the time, sometime when you write the paper, abstract, we can put it in the conclusion part. But when you write the thesis, no repetition, just, follow this independent statement of the, introduction part, not extract from the abstract, and sufficient background information from the scratch should be given, and allow the reader to understand the significance of the work in brief. Allow the readers to understand the purpose of your work and proper citation of the previous work on which you are building. Very, very important. 7th point. You have to give the proper citation of the work which you are not covered in the paper. Maybe in the paper, due to the page restriction, you not covered all of the references. But here, you can give every small references, or every important, non-important references you can include, such a way that the thesis will be more of the pleasing. Okay, and so introduction part you have to give very, very important area to cover, so give more importance as usual. And next one is like same with a extra definition, like goal of the work should be explained, write the hypothesis, and the hypothesis comparison association, and write the validation method to achieve the hypothesis, outcome of the hypothesis, scope of the work, application of the work, and merging all the concept. Okay, all the old concept to the new concept. So all this part you can, as I mentioned, the hypothesis will link to the here every part of the thesis. So introduction part also you can link according to the your hypothesis. Okay. So basically, like why you have done and how it's important, what is the innovation? So these are the 3 points you have to majorly consider. I mean, what was done in previously and what you have done something new and what will be the scope of the particular concept or particular work. So these, if you include, that will be your introduction part. So methods and materials, this is also very similar as your paper, but you have to give the detailed information. So this can be in most of the university, they keep these methods and materials as the different chapter. Okay, this can be a single chapter which can contain the information needed by the, this information is basically needed the other people to replicate your experiment. So you should give a descriptive of your materials, procedure, theory to understand the nature of the experiment, calculation, what kind of calculation, technique, procedure, equipment, calibration plot to reproduce the result, limitations, assumption, and a range of validity to implement the results to a new application. Everything can include the methods and materials. And problem statement and a research gap. I think this is some universities they exist, some universities they don't exist this particular one, but better you write the problem statement. So problem statement is an issue or challenge that sums up what you want to change. It also helps you team members and other stakeholders to focus on the problem. So problem statement is you have to specify what is the research problem. So that is one of the important one you can cover inside the thesis. And the second thing is a research gap. So you can see where there is a research gap is existing, where you work the research and find the innovation. So this problem statement and research gaps are one of the guideline for your basic, all the chapters. And here the chapters I can call as, some people call as the results, some people put the different chapter wise. So first chapter introduction, second chapter methods and materials, and third chapter will be your real proper work, research work. So there you can put chapter wise, result wise, whatever you have done, whatever you publish, maybe 5 papers means 5 chapters. So 6 means 6 chapters. You can include each work. Sometimes if you want to combine, you can combine together and make a chapter. So these are your research innovation, which you can include stepwise as a connective device. So start from the minor, simple one to the complex one, so that the reader will be more interested to read more and more. Okay, so don't make it like in the first chapter, it's a very impressive chapter. Upon going, it will be down, down, down. Then people think, oh, he has done nothing. Okay, so make a first chapter as a simple one, and then go for a complex, higher level. So lower level to the higher level of innovation will give the readers to give a very good impression. Okay, and so here always with a simple and clear language. Here the language is a major problem in India. Like we have to give a very precise one, and most of the time I found the research scholars, they simply copy paste from the another paper or another thesis. Do not do like that. It will go for the plagiarism. Okay, write always simple sentence and make a connection later on. So if the first sentence should have the connection to the second one in such a way that you can make a connection to other such a way that you can write the entire thesis. Okay, so always simple and clear language, and the findings of the study must be expressed in an objective and unbiased manner. If the research addresses more than one hypothesis, use subsection to describe the results. Okay, and similar way, like when you write the chapters, you can follow all this one. Ensure that negative results are included. It's not necessary that only write the positive result in the thesis. You can also see how you failed and you become the success. Okay, in such a way that it will be more interesting. If you include the negative result, it will be more interesting to understand how you attain the successful results. Okay, and wherever possible, use the illustration. Always if you put a pictorial representation, it's easy to understand your concept. Okay, so give always a pictorial representation in every chapter, and mention the results in the form of figures and tables for quick understanding of the findings. Okay, and this is again the chapter. Some people have the discussion part in some university. Some university they include the chapter itself. They do the discussion. So again, this will also give a very honest. You have to give a honest evaluation without overlooking. Whatever the result, whatever you have the result, but you should give the honest evaluation without overlooking. And that is the important point. And admit weakness in the data, if any. Okay, and analyze all the result and give a proper representation. And finally, you have to give the conclusion of the future work. And in the conclusion part, you have to write the important outcome of the research should be in the concluded. And achievement and impact of the outcome of the research can be elaborated in the chapter and include the conclusion of the work in the form of summary. Okay, so whatever you have done, just to give a summary in a proper way. And future scope of the work should be discussed here, because so that the next person can give a lead from this one. Okay. And the references. So all the references should be in a proper format, and DOI may be included wherever possible, and more recent references should be included, and broad references should be included, and low limit for the references, but should be optimum in numbers. So these are references. Normally references have the standard format in every university. And this is the, again, additional one for writing the references. I think because lack of time, I'll skip this one. And next is the, you can include the list of publication, which is very, very important. So give a list of publications and provide the short CV to understand how many published. And if you publish more paper, naturally the reviewer will give more impression about your work. Okay, so provide the list of publications at the end of the thesis, and a short CV may be included at the end of the thesis, and acknowledgement may be included in the end or at the beginning of the thesis, and dedication also can be included at the beginning of the thesis. Okay, and finally conclusions. You give the conclusions in the, this is the overall conclusion of the thesis writing. So structure your ideas, write as you go, and be aware of the examiner's expectation. Most of the time, this is very important point. You have to be very aware what the examiner is expecting. So write accordingly, and imagine yourself as an examiner and write the thesis. Okay, and provide the evidence for personal experience, and learn from others, of course, learn from the seniors, and check for logic and clarity. Your thesis should be more of the logic and have the very good clarity. And revise often. You revise often your thesis, and if possible, please use the LaTeX software so that your formatting will not have any errors. Okay, and such a way they give a very good thesis at the end. And with that, I will conclude my talk. I think because of the lack of time, I stop now. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to talk with you in this FTP program. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir,
Thank you, madam,
for such a nice and informative session. The information you have shared in the session is really very, very helpful for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
If participants have any question, they may ask their question or put your question in chat box.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, materials and methods sometimes are common in thesis while writing. So when we submit the thesis and check into plagiarism software, that is Turn9, then it shows the some plagiarism found due to the materials and methods are same. So
Yes, sir.
How to
overcome? Yeah, this is a common problem for most of the researcher. I fully understand, because sometimes the instrument name is very common. Everywhere the same instrument, same kind of materials we are using. But what you can see is that sentences. See, in plagiarism, normally the software check three letters. Okay, if there is a three word, if three words are consequently coming, it will consider as a plagiarism. Okay, so you can avoid to some extent those kind of things. For example, instrumentation, you can put the model number in bracket if it is already there in the open without bracket, without parenthesis. You can make as a parenthesis, something like that. You can modify, but surely this is one area which every researcher have the problem, which you have to modify somehow to make it all right. Okay. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, anybody else have any question? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
After this wonderful discussion, I invite convener of this FDP, Dr. W.B. Gurnule, sir, for concluding remark. Over to you, Gurnule, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, your voice is coming.
Okay, I have to speak now
Yes,
because
yes.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, madam. Today, Professor Swamin Selvapalam have given a good presentation on the research hypothesis and thesis writing. This is very useful to all the research scholar and also to the faculty members how to finalize the hypothesis and how to plan the thesis writing. So detailed information is given by Professor Selvapalam. And as we know, a hypothesis is very important for writing research paper or research thesis. So it is this hypothesis is it should be a specific and a testable statement, and it is very useful to frame the concept of the study, also help to come to the conclusion of the research problem, and also to solve the research problems. So hypothesis is very important. And Professor Selvapalam has explained well the different types of hypotheses. As we know, simple, complex, directional, non-directional, null hypothesis, associative and causal hypothesis are there. All these hypotheses are important, and without hypothesis, we cannot complete our research work, and therefore the hypothesis is a very important part of the research. During the thesis writing, what are the different aspects are there which have been explained, and generally, as we know, hypothesis and this thesis writing are very closely related, and while writing the thesis, introduction, literature review, result, and discussion, which contain tables and figures, all these parts, and finally the conclusion and the references are very important. And how to write, how to conclude all these aspects today, Professor Selvapalam have explained. So very thankful to you, sir. You have given all the information, details regarding the writing the thesis and how to finalize the thesis and how it is important. You have explained. Thank you. Thank you to Dr. Selvapalam, sir.
Yes, thank
Over
you,
to you,
sir.
madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thanks to all of you for this wonderful participation. Now, I request all of you to start your video so that we can take a group photograph. So all of you, please start your video.
Shall I stop the sharing, sir?
Yes, sir, yes.
I don't know how to stop.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all of you. Thank you so much for joining the session.
Hello, Rashmi.
And
Hello.
yes, sir.
Hello. Hello, Rashmi.
Yes, sir. Okay, we will wait.
Hello, 1 minute. If the party have any question, hello, Rashmi.
Yes, sir.
If the participant have any doubt, na, they can ask. Okay, na?
Yes, sir. We already take some questions.
Okay.
Yes.
And okay, now we'll take now the group photograph. Okay, just
Yes,
a
yes.
minute.
Yes, please, all of you wait for 1-2 minutes more. Sir, done with group photograph? Thank you, all of you. The attendance link will be given in the chat box. Thank you, all of you, for joining the session. And we will meet tomorrow for a new session at the same time.